In this video, I'm going to be doing a teardown of a Sony Vaio SR33. I'll be replacing the spinning hard drive with a compact flash-based SSD solution. I'll be replacing the ADP3421 chip, preventing it from powering on. And finally, I'll be giving a tour of the factory English Windows Millennium Edition operating system. But first, some history and specs. Released in 2000, it came in at just under 3 pounds. Japanese models were powered by a Pentium 3 600 MHz or a 450 MHz Celeron, while US models got a Pentium 3 750 MHz or 600 MHz Celeron. It featured a 10.4-inch screen at 1024 by 768, with lower models getting an 800 by 600. For graphics, you got either a Neomagic Magic Media 256XL or 256AV. It came with either 64 or 128 megabytes of RAM, upgradable through 2 slots to 256 megabytes using somewhat proprietary micro DIMMs. Storage is a 2.5-inch ID hard drive, up to 12 gigabytes for Japanese models or 30 gigabytes for US models. There was a range of operating systems, either Windows 98 or 2000, with the US models also getting Millennium Edition. So now let's take a closer look at the laptop. Along the back, we just have the battery. Along the bottom, we have no easy access panels for the memory or the hard drive. We access those by removing the palm rest on the top. Along the side, we have our headphone, microphone jack, our jog dial, PC card slot, Firewire iLink, and our dial-up modem. On the other side, we have our power jack, our proprietary video out, USB, memory stick card reader. Opening it up, you can see the pretty unique trackpad shape, stripped with our LED status lights, power button. We can see the jog dial through the top cover. Also a window on our memory stick reader. Taking a look at the accessories, here's our proprietary VGA out adapter. It also came bundled with an external PC card CD-ROM drive. I have some of the original paperwork and recovery CDs as well. I've uploaded these in a hard drive image to archive.org. Some ISP sign-up sheets. Windows Millennium Edition Quick Start Guide. Some legal information. Quick Start Guide for the laptop itself. a spec sheet for the laptop. I think it's a little interesting they mention the laser output and the wavelength of the CD drive in this spec sheet. And finally, a little catalog with some accessories for sale. I think some of the more notable things are a 5.5-inch digital photo frame for $900, some CRTs, and then $1,000 15-inch LCDs, $1,300 for 18-inch, and then just to do a quick comparison to the SRX model, which came out a year later. You can see it's less tall, but also thicker than the SR. The SRX on the left got a panel for easier hard drive removal. You can see we still have that pretty unique trackpad design. The jog dial is moved below the trackpad, whereas on the right on the SRX. And you can see how the SRX is more compact, shorter, with the same 10.4-inch screen. So now let's get started with the disassembly, beginning by removing the battery. Next, we just need to remove the 6 screws along the bottom. They're marked with arrows. These are holding the palm rest down. So now we can flip the palm rest over, being careful for the trackpad ribbon cable. We can access our 2 micro-DIMM slots for memory upgrades. And aside, this uses a rechargeable lithium CMOS battery, so I won't be replacing it. It's not going to leak. We just have to remove 1 screw holding in the hard drive cavity. The other screws all went through the palm rest. And we carefully disconnect the ribbon cable from the motherboard. Four screws holding the drive into the cavity, and we remove the IDE cable. I'm replacing this with a compact flash adapter. Here's my 4GB industrial compact flash card. Using a 3D printed adapter. And a little tape just to hold the drive in since we're installing this upside down. Reinstall the IDE cable. and reinstall the single screw in the upper right corner. So my SR33 has a problem. If you watch the power LEDs here, if I turn it on, it'll power on for a second and then turn off. You can see now it doesn't even respond to the power button at all. So if I try power cycling it by unplugging it for a few seconds, then try turning it back on, it will power on for a second again, and then has the same issue. This is actually a fairly common problem for a few different Vaio models of this era, actually computers from other manufacturers too. The cause is the ADP3421 power management chip, which degrades over time. You can see it right here. So we need to address this. We can make it easier by removing the friction fit ribbon cable for the front cover with the trackpad. So like I said, this is a fairly common problem. Here's a ThinkPad wiki page describing it as the blink of death. This article is translated from German. And we can see the exact same symptoms with the LEDs coming on briefly, but no screen or hard drive. So the culprit is that ADP3421, and there are a few different things to try. The first solution, and the most simple, is to use a 2.2K resistor between VCC and power good. This stabilizes it and counteracts the aging effect. If this doesn't work, then the chip has to be replaced. So let's try this method first. For this, I just have a few pictures. So here's my 2.2K resistor. I've pre-bent the legs to make contact with the pins. And here it is soldered in place. I put some Kapton tape underneath it to make sure the leads didn't contact something they shouldn't. And then some blue tack to help hold the resistor in place. So here's the test to see if it works. And although the power LED now stays on, there's no other signs of life. Nothing on the screen. I'm able to power it off through the power button. So we're going to need to remove the chip, starting by replacing the old one. I'm going to use hot air to remove it, using double layers of Kapton tape to protect everything nearby. There's a bunch of tiny little SMDs I don't want to dislodge. So after adding a little extra solder to the pins and plenty of flux, here's the final result after the chip has been removed, the pads have been retinned, and everything has been cleaned up. So as I'm giving some more details, I'm showing the chip being soldered into place. I'll fast forward it a bit shortly. I'm doing this through my microscope. This is definitely the smallest chip I've ever tried to solder. Looking back at this, there's some things I could have done better. I'm open to any suggestions. One thing, I've long used a Hakko 888D soldering iron. Just before this project, I didn't even know I was going to be replacing this chip. Picked up a newer cartridge style JBC 245 clone soldering iron. So this right here is literally the first time I've ever used it, including these J-type tips. Now I picked up these chips from AliExpress. They were listed as new. Looking at them, I suspect they were just removed from something else. I don't think they make these anymore. Probably could have given the pins a light sanding, would have helped things flow better. I tried using a lot of flux. Adding a bit of an update here, I've since repaired 2 more laptops that had the same issue. And after first soldering down the pins like I did here, I put a bunch of flux on top and then drug a bunch of solder over the top of the pins. I think overall a better result. Doing a quick test on all the pins to make sure they're firmly soldered down. A few of them do need to be touched up. So again, it's not pretty, but everything does seem to be solidly in place. So now a quick test. I'm reattaching the ribbon cable for the hard drive. Let's take a final look at it. Now there's a smaller ADP3421 just to the right of it that I saw some people recommend replacing as your last resort if this doesn't work. And we power it on. Take a look at the screen. And you can see the laptop is now fixed. So we can now reconnect the front cover and trackpad, friction fit cable, and continue our reassembly by dropping it into place. Flipping it over, we just need to reinstall the screws and the battery, and the reassembly is complete. Next, let's take a look at the BIOS. And now let's check out the factory Windows Millennium Edition installation. First up, we have DV-Gate Still and Motion, a simple editor capture program for Sony camcorders. Image Station, Sony's online photo sharing and printing service. Closed in 2007, but we can see this little flash overview. Movie Shaker, similar to Windows Movie Maker. You can add different clips and images to your timeline, add transitions. You can also shake them to automatically combine random clips and effects for a final 30-second video. OpenMG Jukebox, Sony's music player, CD burner, music manager, the predecessor to Sonic Stage. Photo Printer 2000 Plus. This is a simple photo editor, but this is the first time I've ever seen it on a Vaio. Picture Gear, a photo manager. Visual Flow, a media file browser with a unique animated interface. Taking a look at the included help file, instructions on how to upgrade our RAM. Vaio Support Agent, this is the first time I've really looked at this. Has solutions for common issues and can run some basic scripts to repair problems. Not really Vaio specific, but Netscape 6. Interesting to see our old web browser. Power panel, details on our battery and power plans. It runs down in the tray. And we can get more details on the number of cycles and capacity of our battery. Sony Notebook Setup gives us some more detailed specs and lets us adjust different BIOS settings. Let's check out the jog dial, the wheel on the side of the laptop. We can use it to launch and navigate within different applications. And finally, let's check out the computer's properties. But that's it. Thanks for watching.